I think we'll start now, as everybody else will join us. I will introduce myself. My name is Vinay Gudai. I'm the Director of Global Outreach at the Economic Development Board, and I'll be your MC for the second part of this session. We will have three wonderful presentations, and I would ask you to keep your questions till all the presentations are finished, and then we can ask the presenters any question that you may have. Before we break away for lunch, lunch is expected to be about 1:15. Okay, and then the third session of the day will start at 2:15, and we will have two panel sessions afterwards. One is going to be on industry, export of goods, and the other one is going to be on export of services, which is exploring new frontiers for the service sectors. Right, as we wait for other people to join us, I just want to add something to share something with you. I don't know if you recall, 2 years ago, we were grey listed on the FATF, right? And a lot of people were worried, rightly so. But I think what hasn't been said earlier, in record times, 18 months, it's a record, Mauritius got out of the grey list. And this year, Mauritius scored 40 out of 40 for all the requirements, 40 requirements of the FATF, and we are only the 6th country in the world to have achieved that feat. Seulement 6e pays au monde that have achieved this feat. The one recommendation that most countries fail on is recommendation 15, and that's the fintech services. And with the VITUS Act of 2021, which is the Virtual Asset Initial Token Offering Services Act, we have closed that gap. So this is something which is meaningful, and I think for CECPA, this is something that could be considered as an export of services, asking operators in India, especially in the fintech arena, to look towards Mauritius into developing their fintech services, not just for Africa, but for the globe as well. So that's something I wanted to share, but certainly I'm sure in the panel session this afternoon, that will be dwelled upon a little bit longer. Right, so distinguished guests, excellencies, dear friends, all protocols observed. Thank you for coming back on time. And as I said earlier, we have three wonderful presentations. We're going to hear from people who have been working actively on preparing CECPA, negotiating between Mauritius and India. We're going to hear from the Mauritian side and also from the Indian side as well. And in between, sandwiched in between the two presentations, one from Mauritius and one from India, we will have a wonderful presentation by our consultant from India, Mr. Vishal, who is the chairman and CEO of Crescendo Worldwide, one of the biggest consulting group in India that have done a market survey on the most probable products from Mauritius that could have an entry in the Indian market. And he's going to share with us as well some of the key successful factors, according to him, that we need to work on to ensure a successful entry in the Indian market. But without further ado, I would like to call upon Dr. Narendra Budu, Director of International Trade Division at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade, to share with us the journey of CECPA and also his own observations and recommendations forward. Please put your hands together to welcome Dr. Budu.
Well, okay, good morning, everybody. Well, it's still morning, so good morning. And great to see all of you today. And I think that it's good that, you know, the room is almost full. It's a good sign. I think that, well, we have been planning to have this national workshop on the CECPA for a very long time. But unfortunately, because of COVID, we had to keep on postponing it. But the good thing is that at least now we have managed to have this workshop, and I think that was a great attendance. Now, but before I get to my presentation, there are one or two observations that I would like to make. And also to correct certain perception when we talk about FTAs. I think I need to do that. And I'm a bit, what I can say, unfortunate that we don't have the press. We don't have, in particular, l'Express, and even more particular to that, a journalist. His name is Naren Jasodhanan. Unfortunately, he's not here. He should have been here. Now, if you read l'Express, I think on Monday or so, there was one very big article saying the truth about the FTA, about CECPA and FTA with China. And what the truth is that, you know, the figures which have been quoted in terms of exports to these two countries, that these figures are not correct. And basically trying to prove that both these agreements are basically something which is not in the interest of Mauritius. And this is very unfortunate, because you do have people, maybe they are educated, but I don't know, there is always a difference between education and instruction. So you should understand what you're talking about. And before you interpret anything, you should go and read. If you want to talk about CECPA, first thing that you need to do is to go and read the agreement. If you don't understand, then ask those people who understand. This is what you need to do. And if you want to write anything, you have to do it on an informed basis. Why I'm saying this? Just for the figures. In this morning, all the intervention that we have heard, they have talked to the exports to India having grown by 60% on average. It's not only me saying it, it's also the Indian side saying it, because they have also compared the figures. So exports have grown by 60%, and this is just the beginning. Why? Because India is a new market for us. It's not our traditional market. We still have to go and strategize. We still have to go and do a lot of marketing, a lot of promotion. And it is only then that we are going to unlock completely that market. And then we are going to avail fully of the potential. But nonetheless, even still, that we have not yet done that now we are doing it, is still we have been able to grow our exports, as I said, by 60%. And if you look at the trend, last year it was 60%. This year, if you take the first semester of 2022, you compare with the first semester of 2021, I think that the growth is over 60%, about 65 or something. If you look at the trend, basically it means to say that by the end of this year, we will reach over 100% of export. So this is the truth about the figures. Now, the other thing is that, and it is extremely important that when we interpret figures, normally we should not look at what we call total exports. Total export, it normally comprises of what we call that the goods that are produced locally and exported, so which call that domestic export, and re-export. Re-export means to say, you know, goods going through a free-port. But if you want to assess whether an FTA is performing or not, you need to look at domestic export, that is what you're producing. Because there are certain rules that you have to meet. We call that the rules of origin requirement. If you don't meet these requirements, so you won't be able to export your goods under the agreement, and therefore, so that is the reason why we should not, when analyzing figures, look at total exports, but you need to look at domestic export. This is the first thing that I wanted just to say. The second thing is that, and I said it even when we were launching the FTA with China, yeah, you might have the best agreement, but if you don't have a strategy to unlock the potential of that agreement, then of course that agreement by itself will not deliver. I think that what we need to do, we need to have a clear strategy. We need to come up with a series of measures, with action plans, and we have to be very, very forceful and very aggressive in terms of marketing on the Indian market if we are talking about the CECPA. And then, of course, we are going to unlock that potential. And the good thing is that we have started this process. There is a ministerial committee which has been set up by the cabinet That ministerial committee has met on several occasions. We have come up with a series of recommendations, about 30 different recommendations. When we start implementing these recommendations one by one, then you will see the real difference. That is, there will be an exponential growth of exports on the Indian market. For that, we are sure. And the EDB has already also done, I think, a market survey. So we have been able to identify, of course, the opportunities. Having said this, you know, my friend Mr. Devesh is sitting here. Who would have thought that we can export sugar to India? India is one of the biggest producers of sugar in the world, one of the biggest exporters of sugar. And now, I don't know, maybe they have got a bumper crop, we have got a lot of sugar. But nonetheless, Mr. Devesh Duka, he has been able to ship sugar, well, a special sugar to India. So this just shows what the potential is. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify this, and let me now get to the presentation per se. Now, I have just mentioned about the figures, so you can see the figures for yourself. In 2022, our exports to India was to the tune of $32 million US. In 2021, what is stood at 44.5. Imports also have been growing, and you can see that the main exports to India, medical devices, flowers, milk, pellets of fish, textile products. So these are what we call the traditional exports. But now, with the new market access that we have got, of course, there are other products of export interest, and we are going to look at these products. And in the video shown this morning, you have seen basically the whole trajectory. Basically, we started the CECPA negotiations a long time back in 2004. And then, you know, the negotiation had to be stopped, I think, in 2007. And then we resumed in 2017. So it has been a very long road towards the conclusion of this agreement. But the good thing is that now we have concluded this. And also I want to maybe indicate that before you embark on the negotiations, you just don't decide that, okay, we are going to have an agreement with country X or country Y. You have to do that on an informed basis. And for this, we initiated what we call a feasibility study jointly with India. So a joint report was prepared in 2004 to see whether it makes sense for us to have an agreement or not. And then that report was repeated in 2017 when we we put back on track the negotiation. We did another report, and both reports indicated, yes, it is feasible, it makes sense for the two countries to sit down and to negotiate an agreement. So we did that study. So I think that whatever is being done, whatever has been done on an informed basis. Now, the agreement itself is a very comprehensive one, that's why it is called comprehensive agreement. But I must also add that it is still work in progress, because we have not yet completed all the negotiations. We still have some outstanding issues, and I'll get back to this. But the agreement itself has 16 different chapters. The most important chapters, the most important one in my view, we have the chapter on trade in goods, and that agreement, of course, itself has a number of other chapters which you have to meet to be able to export. So we have the rules of origin, and as I indicated before, it's not that you can export anything. For you to be able to export, there are certain criteria, so we call that the rules of origin criteria. So you have to make sure that the goods are produced in Mauritius. It's not just good taken from somewhere else and then re-exported to India, no. You have to put value addition, so you have to meet the rules of origin requirements. So this is an important protocol in the agreement. Then we have got also a chapter on sanitary and phytosanitary measures. And this concerns basically the export of agricultural products or exports of livestock, of meat, of poultry products. Why this is important is that you can't just export anything. You have to make sure that you're meeting the sanitary requirements of the country. And to do this, therefore, you have to engage bilaterally with the country. So we are doing that with India already to identify the products of export interest, and then to see what are the requirements and what is it that we are doing to meet these requirements. So this is why we have got this chapter on SPS. We call that sanitary and phytosanitary measures, so it is there. And also it provides for collaboration between the two sides in meeting those requirements. And then we have got something else which we call the technical barriers to trade, and here we are talking basically about standard. You can't just export any product. That product has to meet a certain standard of the country. Just like when goods are imported into Mauritius, we have got our own standard. Normally these are international standards, so we have to make sure that those goods, they do meet these kind of standards. So that is the reason why we have got another chapter, that basically speaks to the technical barriers to trade. My friends, if you can just put back on, otherwise I can just talk like this, it should not be a problem. Okay, so we have mentioned about technical barriers to trade. So this is the trade in goods chapter. Then we have got another big chapter which is trade in services, and we will get into some of the concepts concerning trade in services, but it's a very big sort of component of the CECPA. And then the third chapter, of course, is general economic cooperation. I'll just give some hints in terms of the content of the general economic cooperation chapter. And the last one is a chapter on dispute settlement, because if you have got an agreement, of course, you have got a mechanism to ensure that if tomorrow there is any dispute in terms of implementation, so then you can address this. So there is also a dispute settlement chapter in the CECPA. Okay, trade in goods. Now we get into the specifics. We have got access, that is market access, preferential market access for 615 products. And these, the modalities of how we tackle the elimination of tariffs on these 615 products are provided in the agreement. There is a separate schedule, it's provided there. So if you get into the, so for immediate liberalization, that is the tariffs have been completely eliminated on day one when the agreement came into force. So that was on 1st of April last year. So 35 products have been, or we call that tariff lines, or let's say 35 products have been, tariffs on 35 products have been liberalized on the Indian market. Then we also have a process of gradual liberalization for a number of other products. And normally these are a bit more sensitive products. So we have got 465 products where the tariffs will be liberalized on a very gradual basis. For some it's 3 years, for some it's 4 years, others 5 years. So we have got this process of tariff liberalization. And then we have got 112 products on which we have got tariff rate quotas. So basically what tariff rate quotas mean? It means to say that you have got a fixed quantity which you can export either at zero duty or at reduced duty. So we have got 112 products. And this is probably the most important element of market access for Mauritius when you see for yourself. Because these are the products where the rate of duty in India is extremely high. And given the fact that you have got preferential access for these products, therefore the value of the preferences, that value is very important, is significant. And I think that our strategy should focus on availing of the opportunities that are provided under the different TRQs. And now we say that there are 68 tariff lines which are excluded. I mean, these are not excluded. These are products on which we will continue the negotiation. This is the reason why I said that it's not a full, that is, agreement. It's an interim agreement. There are still some built-in agenda, let's put it like that, or some outstanding issues. And we have agreed that we will start to discuss the additional market access. I think that we need to start by the end of this, in September itself, no? September, October. And by the end of the year, we will complete. Now, why I'm saying this is important. I think that somebody had mentioned that they wanted to include one HS code, that is shirts, in the CECPA. And I think that we are made. So we have already communicated that interest to India. that, okay, this is one tariff line, we would like you to include and eliminate tariffs on this. Well, in principle, they say that we are going to have a look. Of course, we have to negotiate. What I'm trying to say is that it's not the end of the story. What we have signed, the 615, so we are continuing to negotiate. So there is scope for us to expand the agreement to include other products of export interest to Mauritius, and we have already signified our intention, our interest in terms of the products that we would like to see included. And as I said, so we will engage with the Indian side. So therefore, once we do all of this, then you will find an agreement which is even more interesting, even more appealing, and which will provide even more preferential access to Mauritius. And you can see the products. For the 38, for instance, immediate liberalization, we have got pasta, vinegar, medical devices, dental cements, paints. So these are products which we produce. And we are already exporting, for instance, medical devices, catheters, we are already exporting to India. So, and it's a huge market. So this is just an indication. And on the 465, so you can see all these. I don't want to go into these products in detail, but you can see for themselves. In any way, I think that we are going to circulate the presentation. Now, I did mention about the TRQs, and I said that the TRQ in terms of value, they are more important because they provide what we call a huge margin of preference. Now, pineapples, for instance, we have secured a TRQ of 1,000 tons at 10% duty. So, but the duty on pineapples imported from anywhere in the world, that duty is 30%. So basically, we have got, if you just compare, it would be a margin of preference. It is 1/3, well, 2/3, so it should be about 66%. Right? Similarly, for lychees, again, we have got a TRQ for 250 tons at 10% duty compared to a duty of 30%. What is more important is the sugar. So the duty on sugar in India, and India never provides market access to any country under any FTAs they have negotiated. So this is something which are done only for Mauritius, only for Mauritius. So we have got a quota of 40,000 tons, okay, at 10% duty, where the duty, actual duty is 100%. So you can see the difference. So this is what I said, that the value of the access is extremely substantial, the margin is very high. And basically, it means to say that you are going to be extremely competitive on the Indian market. And again, I think Deves can confirm. We are not talking about any sugar. Basically, we are talking about special sugar. And my understanding is that the price of special sugar, in terms of the premium that you get, is much, much higher than the price of normal sugar, that is white sugar, whatever it is. It can range between $700 maybe, no? Okay. 20% higher. So maybe let's assume it's $700 per ton. Now you have got 40,000 tons. You can do the calculation. It's very simple. $700 per ton, 40,000 tons, it gives you $28 million. Convert that into rupee, and then you can see for yourself what we are talking about. In terms of business, I'm saying. Huh? Similarly, we have got 2 million liters of beer at 25% duty, and the duty on beer in India is 100%. So again, 2 million liters of beer, you can just do the calculation, and you will find that, you can get, first, you will be competitive as compared to beer coming from any country in the world, because those beer, they will be taxed at 100%. You will be taxed at only 25%. So basically, you have got, and India is a huge market. Fruit wine, again, the normal duty in India is 150%. We have got 5,000 liters at 50% duty. So a differential in the tax of 100%. Rum, again, 100%. We have got 1.5 million liters of rum, so it's quite a lot. And you do the calculation, you know, because if you export 1.5 million liters of rum and you are taxed at, I don't know, 150%, so you can calculate what would be the final price of that product when you sell on the Indian market. But if you have got a rebate of 100%, so on 1.5 million liters, 100%, it means to say that an importer will be making a saving of 1.5 billion rupees. This is what it means actually. And I think that any importer, of course, rather than sourcing rum from anywhere in the world, and we have got very good rum, so we prefer to source it from Mauritius. And we have just been to India, I've been to the duty-free shop. There is one corner for rum in India. I don't know whether you have seen. One corner for rum. So the problem is that I don't see our rum there. So very soon, I think that we will see our rum in that corner. We have to do the marketing for that. Yeah. So this is what we are talking about in terms of what we call the value of the market access on the Indian market, very high value. And it is up to us now to have our own strategies to avail of these opportunities. So I think that we are just, I don't want to go into the detail of this. I'm just giving you, just for garments, and I think that for garments, maybe there is something which is a bit specific for garments. Now we have got a TRQ of 7.5 million pieces. So we can export 7.5 million pieces of garment on the Indian market. And it is zero duty. So basically, normally garment, they have got what we call a specific duty. But for us, it's zero. So we can export 7.5 million pieces of garments. Now the specificity here is in terms of the rules of origin. It depends on what we call the fabrics or the raw material that you use to make the garment. So what we have agreed is that out of this 7.5 million liters, so for the 5 meters, for 5 million liters, meters, so you will have to source that you use the fabrics made in India or yarn produced in India. And for the rest, of course, you can use yarn from anywhere in the world. So it gives you some flexibility there. So you can see for yourself in terms of market access for trading goods. Management of TRQs, that is also something important, and that system had to be put in place for us to be able to take advantage of this. Now it is in place, and it is a very flexible mechanism, basically meaning to say that anybody who is interested to import from Mauritius, he just has to go and make an application to the Ministry of Commerce. First come, first serve. You know, it used to be very complicated. You had a timeline to submit your application, but after the meeting, that is the meeting of the high-level committee, so now this has been made much more flexible. So it's very easy now for anybody to apply the TRQ, and well, once you apply, you just have to look for the buyer and to start importing. Now, the other thing, again, maybe I should share it as an information. When we were in Delhi, so we have been given the confirmation that importers have already applied for the TRQs. So I think that there is one importer who has applied for 1,000 metric ton of pineapples. I think that for rum, you know, they have already applied for 500,000 liters of rum. It means to say that these are importers who are interested to import these products from Mauritius. They have already applied for the TRQ. What we need to do is to find out who these people are, and then for our exporters, those who are interested, to get in touch with them and already to strike deal. This is what it means. If you have already allocated the TRQs, and as I said, they have already been allocated for at least for this year. Now, when you negotiate an agreement, you don't just get access to the market. You also have to open up your market. But maybe I have to make again a very general comment in Mauritius. If you look at our tariff structure, if you look at the structure, I mean the structure of the duty in Mauritius, you'll find that 90% or 95% of all the products that we import, they are already duty-free. So we are left only with a very small 5% or so of products that attract duty in Mauritius. So at the end of the day, when you're negotiating, normally the negotiation will involve the 5%. So when we are talking about market opening, so at the end of the day, we don't open much. We open very little because the market is already open for everybody. And in terms of the commitment which we have taken, I think that we have taken commitment to open up the market for some 300 tariff-line products. And we have excluded, and this is important, we have excluded all the products which are considered to be sensitive in Mauritius, or we have provided TRQs for some of the product which might be sensitive, so we are capping the amount of product that can be exported under the agreement. So it's not completely open. So this is what we are talking here. So I think that these are the products which Indian importers can source from Mauritius. Now, there is also something which we should know. There is something in the agreement which is called the bilateral safeguard mechanism. What it means is that if tomorrow in Mauritius we find that there is an influx of goods coming, and if the import is causing injury to the domestic industry, if the domestic industry is being affected, so you can undertake an assessment, you can make an evaluation, and if really the injury to the domestic industry is caused by the increased imports, so you can take a safeguard measure. So basically mean to say you can reintroduce tariff for a period of 4 years, right? You can do that to protect the domestic industry. So there is this kind of safeguard. But now we have also agreed on something which is called an automatic safeguard mechanism. And for this one, it is automatic. So the moment you see that imports have surpassed a certain threshold, right? The moment you see that, so you just apply the automatic safeguard mechanism. So basically meaning to say that if tomorrow any local industry is being affected, and if that import of that product has reached a certain level, a certain threshold, so you don't have, no need absolutely for you to do an investigation, you just go and apply the safeguard mechanism. For a period of 3 years, I think, you can apply that. So again, we have done this to protect the domestic industry. So basically meaning to say that we should not have any apprehension. First, we have got access to a market of 1.3 or almost now 1.4 billion people. It's one of the growing markets in the world. We know that there is, a growing middle class in India. It is already the 5th largest economy in the world. It is maybe the powerhouse of tomorrow. It will be certainly at some point in time there, maybe second, maybe even the 1st largest economy in the world in time. So this is what we have provided. In contrast, of course, we have taken some commitments in some sectors. We have excluded, as I said, the sensitive sectors, or we have maintained a certain cap on products that might be considered to be sensitive. In addition to that, we have got a bilateral safeguard mechanism. Then we have got an automatic safeguard trigger mechanism. So all of this as a package mean to say that we have got an agreement that is very much in the interest of Mauritius. And I think it is for us to now see what we should do to take advantage of the market access opportunities that I've just mentioned. And I still recall when the Minister of External Affairs during the signature came to Mauritius, Mr. Jaishankar, he mentioned that the 615 products that are covered by the CECPA, the import of these products in India, the import is to the tune of $15 billion. So this is, basically we are talking the size of the cake. It's 15 billion. So these products are imported from outside. So that is it. So it's for us now to strategize, of course, to make sure that we get a larger chunk of that cake. I think in the morning, in the different interventions, statements which have been made, we have been talking about what we call the trilateral strategy for Mauritius, India, Mauritius, and Africa. We all know we have been talking about this, that we have to see how we team up with the Indian business community, maybe to tap opportunities on the African continent, and how we can basically get the Indian manufacturing sector to relocate in Mauritius, and then to use Mauritius as a gateway to produce and then to export to Africa. And this is something that can be done. In fact, in the General Economic Cooperation chapter, there is a provision to have what we call a special economic zone. And of course, we have to look at the specifics of it. And I think that the Indian business community can come and relocate in the SEZ in Mauritius. But the important thing is, if you look at the African continent, they import goods in huge quantities. Most of the African countries, you have a common basket of products which they import in huge quantities. We call that fresh products. And these products are imported with a very high margin of duty. I mean, they are taxed, highly taxed in Africa. The rate of duty can range between 25 to 35, 40% in some cases. It's a very high duty. And some of these products, they are exported by Indians from India on the African market. So when they are exporting these products, of course, they are taxed. What we are trying to do now is to get those exporters come to Mauritius, to relocate here, and you have to do just part of the processing. You don't have to do the full, that is, supply chain in terms of production. Now, they can do 65% of the processing in India. They come, they put up their processing plant in Mauritius, they do 35%, that is, they put the value of 35%, they meet the rules of origin requirement from here, and then they export. So this is what we call the collaborative approach and the trilateral cooperation that we can try to develop with India, and this is possible. Now, why I'm projecting this? Because there is a study done by the World Bank. Now, they have identified a list of 50 products which has the potential of being produced in Mauritius for exports to Africa. And it is based, as I said, on the margin of preference, but not only on the margin of preference, but on the experience and expertise of Mauritius already in some of these products. The only thing that we need to do maybe to see, how we can get the investors to come and invest. So this work has been done, and they have done this on the basis of 3 different criteria, which you can find here on the screen. So now we already have at least some work which has been done, a list of products of high potential which can be exported to Africa, but produced in Mauritius. We have already that list of products. No need for us to go and do any analysis. It has been done for us. So what we need to do now is just to see how we get the investors come to Mauritius and then to do, to produce the goods which have already been identified by the World Bank. And you can see the list of medical devices. We are doing medicament, paints, plastic. These are goods that we are already producing in Mauritius. And we can export these products to India, to Africa. As I said, just get the more producers here in Mauritius. Now, coming to services, this one is a bit, sometimes a bit tricky to understand, because services, it's not like trading goods where you have got tariffs, you have got non-tariff barriers, which basically you have to eliminate. Normally this is what you eliminate. But here we talk about regulations, about regulatory aspect that might be existing, about laws that might exist in our countries, and normally the constraints or the barriers to trade in services are found in those regulations. Now, so as I said, there is a very comprehensive chapter, and that chapter, it covers a number of sectors, about 100 sectors and subsectors. And the way, and this is important for you to understand, because if you don't understand this, then the very concept of trade in services will remain blurred. You will have difficulty to understand that concept. Normally, when we talk about trade in services, we talk about the modes of supply of services. There are 4 different modes. It is extremely important to understand this. 4 different modes of supply. The first mode is cross-border supply of services. What this means is that there is a service supplier here in Mauritius, so you can provide the service from Mauritius to India, for instance, using the internet or using any other device. Okay? So it is called the cross-border mode of supply. And normally here we talk about telecommunications. For instance, a doctor can consult a patient from Mauritius in India. It can do it, through telemedicine. So this is mode 1. Or an architect can do a drawing in Mauritius, send it to India, okay, through, of course, the internet, whatever it is. So the guy that is the service supplier, he doesn't move. It's just the service that moves. So this is a mode 1. And normally in a trade agreement, you will try to make sure that you don't have any restriction on what we call this cross-border movement of services. And this is important for our BPO sector, because if you have got restriction on the BPO, then of course you won't be able to develop that sector. So what we have done is that we have eliminated all barriers that exist for the mode 1. Then there is a second mode, and this is also important to understand, and here we call that consumption abroad. So the consumer moves to consume the service abroad. Now the most notable example is tourism. A tourist has to move to another country to consume the service, so the consumer moves. Or a patient moves to another country to have treatment, or a student moves to another country for education. So this is what we call consumption abroad. What we do normally in a trade agreement, we make sure that we don't have any barrier to the movement of consumers. So this is the second mode. The third mode is establishment. Here we are talking about direct investment. So when, a country, somebody goes to invest, so then it means to say that you're establishing in that country. A bank can come and establish, insurance company. So this is mode 3. So we call that establishment. You come to establish, and basically here we are talking about direct investment. And then, so we try to eliminate barriers to investment, that is to establishment. And then the mode 4, here we talk about the movement of professionals. So the professional move to another country to provide the service. A doctor moves to provide the service, any professional, an accountant, whatever it is. So they move to provide the service. So this is called mode 4. And then we again try to eliminate the barriers. And I think this is important. We were talking about the medical. We know that we have got, a scarcity of doctors in certain areas, of nurses. So when you have got an agreement that eliminates this kind of movement to professionals, so therefore the professional, of course, can move easily to provide the service. And this is what we do normally in a trade agreement on services. And as I said, so we have So we have committed, that is, we have taken these commitments in almost a number of services sectors. Business services, when we talk about business services here, we are talking mostly about professionals, They go to provide the service, an accountant, a doctor, so computer-related services or business services. So we have taken commitments in the 4 modes, the 4 different modes I've just explained, in the different sectors that you can see here. So again, as I said, I won't go into the detail of this. It's been done, right? What we have also agreed now in terms of in terms of promoting services trade between the 2 countries, that we are going to negotiate something which is called the mutual recognition of qualifications. That if you have got professionals, but you don't recognize their qualifications, so that professional can go and provide the service. If, for instance, we want to promote educational services in Mauritius, we would like to have more and more students coming from India to study in Mauritius. But if the qualifications are not recognized in India, so you can't develop the educational services. Similarly for health, so many other sectors. So what we have done is that we've agreed that we are going to initiate a process of what we call of discussions on the recognition of qualifications. And we are supposed to do that. We have already started for the nursing service sector. And of course, there are other sectors, especially the sectors of importance to Mauritius, because we know that we lack professionals in many, many sectors, and because of this we are unable to grow. Even in the tourism sector, I know that there are certain very specific fields where we don't have enough professionals, so we are constraining the growth of these sectors. So this is also something which we are going to do in the context of this agreement. Okay, so I mean, these are details, I don't go into these. So I'm just giving some examples, on the commitments which we have taken in the services sector. As I said, the commitments are meant, of course, to enable what we call more easier export of services, both sides, from India to Mauritius and from Mauritius to India. And of course, the same principle applies. So if the Indian business community, they would like to provide services, let's say on the African continent, so they can do it from Mauritius using the cross-border mode. Or even if they want to go, because we have got services agreement also at the level of the African continent. We have got it in SADC, we have got it in COMESA. So if an Indian business community, Indian businessman wants to export his services to Africa, he can relocate here in Mauritius, and from Mauritius can do it on a cross-border mode, or even incorporate in Mauritius and then as a Mauritian branch go and locate in Africa. So all this is possible through the CECPA. Yes, I mentioned about the Economic Cooperation chapter. This is a new chapter which has now been incorporated. It covers about 25 different sectors. And what you're talking here is the specifics as to how we can collaborate to develop a number of sectors in Mauritius. We are talking about the pharmaceutical sector, of biotechnology, of the ocean economy. There are so many sectors that we have mentioned, financial services. So the framework has been provided now, and also I mentioned about the setting up of the special economic zone in Mauritius. It is also provided there, and also to establish an infrastructure development fund so that we can develop infrastructure. So this is all provided for now in the CECPA. What remains to be done is to elaborate an action matrix in terms of the details as to how we are going to implement. And this process we are going to initiate that process very soon. So we are working already on the action matrix, and once we would have agreed on the action matrix and the timeline, so implementation of that chapter will also be done. But as I said, the intention is to develop very close collaboration between the two countries, especially in sectors of high importance to Mauritius, not so much to India, but to Mauritius, and it's been provided for in the agreement. Okay, so I think that, as I said, we could have gone into more detail, but I have not done that. If you have got any question, of course, you can just, I'll be very happy to respond to your question. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Udu. Thank you for taking us through this wonderful journey and the opportunities based on CECPA. I think the key points to take out, of course, the 615 line items from Mauritius and the 310 line items from India. But I would also like to add, there is an estimate. The potential market size for all the 616 line items in the Indian market is estimated at $15 billion. That's if we take 100% of the opportunity and 100% of the export in these products. But if we get a percentage of that, you can imagine, 10%, 5% of that, substantial figures we're talking here. And that's the opportunity that we need to look into. And I think Dr. Udu has already given us a view of the key products that we can look into the Indian market, but not just products in terms of services. Multiple service sector has been mentioned, financial services, education, tourism, construction. So there's really a lot of opportunities for us to explore in the Indian market. Now, how do we tap into the Indian market? How big it is, how complex it is, and what are the best strategies, or what do we need to do to try and reach out to the Indian market? So I really have the immense pleasure to welcome Mr. Vishal Jadhav, the Chairman and Managing Director of Crescendo Worldwide, who has been requested by the EDB to conduct a market survey for the potential of Mauritian produce in the Indian market, and he's here to showcase to us his findings. Please put your hands together to welcome the Chairman of Crescendo India.
Good afternoon, everyone. Congratulations to both Government of Mauritius as well as Government of India for completing 75 years of diplomatic relations, and thank you so much, EDB, for having me here. It's an immense pleasure to share screen with some of the experts. So my role today is giving you the whole perspective from the Indian side. Maybe some slides will be repetitive, but then my intentions here is to tell you that how exactly the business community can expand in India. So we will be speaking about opportunities, challenges, and what exactly strategies Mauritian exporters should have so as to be successful. Yeah? So these are the things which I'm going to cover about, of course, Indian market, few import-export statistics, India to Africa trade relations, India-Mauritius trade relations, and then followed by these prominent sectors which we all are speaking since from the morning. Then platforms to reach potential customers in India. So what exactly Mauritius exporters should do so as to get clients in India. Various forms of doing business in India, yeah, and then steps for getting success, and a 3-year systematic plan which we along with EDB is putting across so as to have an hand-holding process done for each and every exporter or those companies who intend to export or start export. Yeah? And of course, I'll go a little deeper in each of the sector, giving you a perception from Indian side. So when we speak about India, it's a big country of 28 states and 8 union territories. And serving to this massive nation, you have to be very clear what exactly you want to do, from where could be a starting point, and how you are going to do that. Speaking about the statistics, we are 7th largest by area in the world, 2nd most populous country with about 1.4 billion people, most populous democracy, you may say, one of the fastest growing industrialized nation, and 2nd pool for scientists and engineers. By GDP, we are consistently growing with 8.9% average. The GDP ranking is 5th largest in the world. PPP, we are 3rd largest in the world, yeah. And we have already overtaken UK last month, and we are about to overtake Germany and Japan in 2026, followed by 2034. Now, when we call about GDP, we have to understand how it is going to get contributed. So the GDP contribution is 53% from services, 20% from agriculture, and about 25% from industry. The economic statistics, India exports about $400 billion. And what is India exporting is engineering goods, gems, petroleum products, drugs and pharmaceuticals, organic and inorganic chemicals, where India is largest producer. And this is where India is exporting largest to Asia, followed by the Europe, and then North America, and about 8% to Africa. And these are the typical Indian export destinations. So the largest export we make is to United States, followed by all the obvious countries, China, South Africa, UAE, Hong Kong, Germany, United Kingdom. India imports about $600 billion, and what India imports is largest petrochemical and crude, electronic goods, gold, machinery, chemical, raw processed food, yeah. And this is what India is importing from. So again, 58% largest import is from other Asian countries, followed by Europe, Africa, and then North America. And going into details, yeah, we import largest from China, United States, and then other countries. India is eyeing towards becoming a $5 trillion economy by 2025, and $1 trillion will come from the manufacturing, another $1 trillion we are eyeing towards from agriculture, and then $3 trillion from services. So why I'm telling you all of this is we should be clear what exactly we are heading towards and how Mauritius companies can take part of it. Now, India-Africa statistics, we do about $90 billion of trade, bilateral trade. Export was about $33 billion, yeah, and all of these things which we have seen already. And import was about $41 billion, yeah, from crude to coal to gold. And these are the countries who are contributing to all of this, yeah? So South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Mozambique, Tanzania, and Angola, and products are there. And we want to see Mauritius here. Now to see that, the India-Mauritius relations today stands for about 750 million exports from India to Mauritius, which is growing good part, 69%. At the same time, about $72 million of import, which is also with 63%, but it is just a tip of the iceberg, yeah, where iceberg is always 9 times below water. So what can we do so as to have 10 times more, yeah? And if you see with the total import and export, it is probably a 0.1% or not more than that. So as to have it 10 times or tenfold more, we have to have a strategic plan, followed by, I mean, someone rightly said that government can make all of these agreements and can make this platform, but we as an industry should work on it, or rather should run on it, yeah? So strategic action plan, which I'm going to explain you end of my slides. This is what India exports to Mauritius, yeah? Petroleum, drug, cotton, motor vehicle and parts, iron and steel, basmati rice, and this is what India is importing from Mauritius. Medical and scientific instruments, iron, steel, aluminium, railway transport parts, electronic. And there is a great scope increasing all of this, yeah? And it is consistently increasing, not to the level of expectation which I have, but okay, from 2019 to 2021, we see a consistent growth. In terms of foreign direct investment between two countries, Mauritius plays third important role, being third largest investor in India. And this investment is into sectors like computer software, services, automotive, trading, construction, everywhere, yeah? With this $9.39 billion of investment, India outward investment to Africa since 2015 to 2021 is about $23 billion. And Mauritius sometimes is a part of it, where we call it as a reinvestment. So from Mauritius, a lot of this investment is getting routed through. Doing business in India, these are the tax structure, the general tax structure. So we have a GST, which is comprehensive indirect tax for the manufacture, sale, and consumption of goods. Then there are some federal, state level taxes, and then the indirect taxes like customs and excise duty. The logistic happens inside India. The inland transportation is more by road, 40%, 26%. The logistic cost, if we consider, 40% is for transportation, 26% is warehousing, 24% is inventory holding, and then 10% other. And then this is, on the right-hand side, is how the transportation happens. So maximum is from surface, followed by railway, 31%, waterways, and then air. So we are doing last 6 months extensive research, and the report will soon be released. And these were the basic parameters which we had in our mind doing this extensive research, because followed by research, it is also, as I said, is hand-holding, where we will have a mediation of dialogue between importers and exporters. Yeah, from B2B meetings to exporting your goods to India, we are going to be involved in everything. So under CECPA, our role was analyzing products which are available in Indian market, understanding how business gets conducted in terms of market structure, market segmentation, distribution, which are the key players and logistics, acquiring market intelligence for product competitiveness, techniques, what should be the marketing strategy, how we should have image of Mauritius projected in the minds of Indians, and then agri-food, textile, seafood, medical devices, agro-processed, spirits and wine. These were the basic criterias, yeah, and that's how primary, secondary analysis has been made. The freight cost exporting from Mauritius to India varies between $3,500 to about $9,500, depending on the feet of container, the weight, and of course the time of deliveries from 13 days to 17 days. Now let's look at each sector one after the other. So speaking about textile and apparel, market size is about $88 billion and expected to reach $207 Indian market size. And one of the reasons is growing middle class with an annual income of average $5,000 to $10,000 every year, and that is increasing, which contributes for about 30% of population who is growing in the way. India is the youngest country in the world, with 65% population below the average age of 35, which also makes a lot of fashion and trending things coming in the apparel and textile. Increasing urbanization, we are second largest urban population of about 400 million, and growing trend of Indian e-commerce where people are very conveniently buying on the tap of their fingers, from Flipkart, Amazon, Snapdeal, Myntra, and Jabong. And more and more Mauritius companies should get registered with all of them, where we are going to support them. This is what is the apparel category. So t-shirts and polo shirts, denim garment, pullover and shirts. This is what we have considered here. 42% Indian market is by men's wear, 39 is women wear, and then kids. And that's how the market segment is growing. So if we divide both into branded apparel as well as organized, you may see Big Bazaar, DMart, or Reliance stores. They are the one who are handling the organized sector. At the same time, the homegrown brands as well as the international brands like Raymond, Allen Solly, Van Heusen, all of them are into branded apparels. And there is a systematic process of how you can register yourself as a vendor with all of them, stores as well as the companies. So journey to consumer happens from the exclusive stores to supermarkets and hypermarkets to multi-branded stores, showrooms, and then the online platforms. And we will understand how factory to consumer this whole journey happens. So if you see on the right-hand side, the manufacturer and exporter, the imports agents who are sometimes wholesalers, sometimes distributors, sometimes commission agents. And from there, the material goes to small independent retailers, large retailers, multi-retailers, and then to consumer. So this whole chain and the profitability which flows from the chain is something which I'm trying to explain you. The t-shirt and polo shirt market right now is about $2.2 billion, and they projected to have a consistent increase. The top exporters from where India is importing right now is Bangladesh, China, Spain, Vietnam, Hong Kong, Turkey. These are the main players who are dominating this market. And these are some of the top importers, which you will also get in the research report. So for each sector, we have spoken to more than 500 largest importers of India. And I'm happy to say that 50% of these importers showed interest speaking to Mauritius companies and buying from Mauritius. So these are some of the importers for t-shirts. Of course, the duty advantage will make you overcoming all of these countries because none of them have these advantages which CECPA is providing. So a 0% import duty will give you an access to all of them. Speaking about pullover market, it is about a $2 billion market, and more or less same countries, Bangladesh, China, Spain, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia are the largest suppliers. And these are some of the importers. Again, here we have a 0% import duty for 7.5 million pieces. This is how the T-shirt market is, yeah, which is about $8 billion market. And importers, countries who are exporting are here. Some of the largest importers, and you may see they are based in Delhi, Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, Kolkata, yeah, distributed among all the major cities. This is about denim, which is about $5 billion market, yeah, and the countries more or less are same. So these are the main textile and apparel hubs in India, which goes from the states like Punjab, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka. If you want to serve this market, your partner either has to be in these cities, or if you have any plans to set up your own office or a warehouse, it should be near to the ecosystem where the industry is already there. Speaking about food processing industry, we are ranked 6th largest in the world. Output is expected to reach to $530 billion by 2025. Food retail market is dominated by food, grocery, and food services. FDI inflow is consistent, and Indian government has established 18 new mega parks, mega food parks, and 134 cold chains. The online grocery retail is expected to grow to $10 billion. Indian consumer are spreading to grow $6 trillion, and ready to eat, ready to cook, as well as ready to serve market is growing very fast because of the working class of all of the metro cities. But at the same time, we have low processing infrastructure. Just 2% of our whole production of fruits are getting processed. Just 35% of our milk products are getting processed, and just 6% of our poultry products are getting processed. So we need to see how and what Mauritius can play in this role of processing what is already available in the market. At the same time, industry is about 43% unorganized, 25% organized, and 33% are small-scale companies. So there is a good chance that Mauritian companies may tie up with small companies in India who already have established customer base, who have a basic setup, and who have a distribution network. You may think of having a strategic alliance, a joint venture, or acquiring small companies and expanding your business in India. In the food processing, we are trying to cover special sugars, vanilla products, cake decoration, animal feed, and pasta, because the duty structure and CECPA gives advantage over here. So sugar consumption in India is consistently increasing. Even if we are one of the largest sugar producer, we are also one of the largest consumer, and whatever we produce is not sufficient, and that's the reason we import a lot of sugar. And these are the sugar consumption industries: dairy processing, confectionaries, bakery, carbonated beverages. And this is the import analysis. We are importing huge amount of sugar from Brazil, which is probably double of the distance from Mauritius, yeah? And at the same time, UAE, Korea, and UK, because of the reprocessing hubs. The import duty has been reduced from 100% to 10% for Mauritius companies under CECPA. And then the supply chain from farmers to consumers is also intricate. As I said, it's not a well-organized market, yeah? And it is not organized, and that's the reason it gives us a chance to enter. If it is so organized like United States, probably we will not have a chance to penetrate, yeah? So it is unorganized, and that's where we have mentioned it purposely, out of which government is holding 10%, bulk buyer is 30%, and institutional buyer is about 60%. These are the top importers, yeah? And you may see the pricing, which is 185 metric ton to maximum price of 300 metric ton, the wholesalers and importers. The cake decoration market is about 450 million, which is expected to reach to 800 million. And these are Indian pastry and cake countries from where we import. So larger is from Bangladesh, followed by Indonesia, Malaysia, UAE, Italy. And there is already a duty advantage on this. And these are the top importers who are importing cake and pastry. This is the product pricing, yeah, FOB and CIF both, just to have an idea of it, and the distribution channel. The pasta market is about $450 million, and maximum is 60% dry pasta, instant pasta, and then fresh pasta, about 19%. And these are the countries from where India imports, so Nepal, South Korea, Italy, Singapore, Indonesia. The zero duty structure under CECPA will definitely give advantage. And these are the top importers who are importing pasta consistently every month. We have only taken those importers who import in huge volumes and frequency of import is consistent. Yeah? There is a big list of importers which we have taken from the bill of ladings. Speaking about vanilla market, Madagascar is largest supplier of vanilla to India, contributes about 75% of the whole India's requirement. India import price is roughly $44, and the price which is for end customer after repackaging or processing is $145 to $455 per kg. That's how the import duty advantage. And top importers of vanilla from Mumbai to Jaipur to Indore, yeah, Bangalore, all of these cities. Speaking about Indian animal feed, market is about $11 billion, and it is 60% mainly for poultry, followed by cattle and aqua feed. China, Sri Lanka, Singapore are the largest exporters, and duty advantage is there. These are the top Indian importers. And these are the food processing hubs of India. From Jammu Kashmir to Kerala, these are the hubs where you may see on the right-hand side fruits, vegetable, dairy, marine, all of that is getting produced or getting processed. And these are the new food parks and mega parks which Government of India has been newly established. So 21 are in operation, about 17 in operation, 21 in progress. And there are also special economic zones inside where we may propose to have a special zone for Mauritius. Speaking about medical device industry, Indian market for medical equipment will be of $50 billion by 2025. FDI inflow is about $2 billion. And diagnostic imaging is likely to expand. The Indian medical device market comprises of about 800 local manufacturing companies. We are fourth largest medical device market in Asia after Japan, China, and South Korea. India is counted among top 20 global medical device markets, yeah, and we are highly dependent on 80% of import. And that's something which is there, 80% import dependent market. Medical device market contributes for about 4% in the total Indian healthcare market. And it is mix of appliances, which is orthopedic, dental, psychological, all of that. Indian medical device types, 25% is medical instruments and appliances, 20% is orthopedic, 12% is syringe, 10% electro-medical, and then X-ray, bandages, and others. And this is where we see a growth for Mauritian companies. So needles, orthopedic, ophthalmic, synergic, artificial skin, and syringes. India disposable syringe market is about $148 million and consistently increasing. And this is what is the import analysis for catheter. And here a good part is Mauritius is already on the top, and Mauritian companies are very aggressively expanding in India, followed by Netherlands, United States, Singapore, Belgium, and Germany. And a duty advantage will make it more compatible and aggressive. These are the wholesalers and importers. And this is about a dental implants market. which is combination of knee replacement, hip replacement, and then trauma and spine. US, China, and Korea are the top suppliers, yeah, and this is the rough, we have tried mentioning Italian and German price there purposely, so as to have an idea that there is a lot of cost-effective solution which can be given from Mauritius. And China, US, Germany, Singapore are the largest exporters to India. This is the import duty structure, and also some of the locations where cargo and ports are playing important role. Similarly for artificial skin. And we are importing the largest from Belgium, followed by US, Netherlands, and Singapore. And these are the hubs. So we are speaking about 14,000 multi-speciality hospitals across country, but majorly to the metro and tier 1 cities of India. And this is what India imports from Mauritius presently, which number we have to increase together. Speaking about spirit and wine industry, revenue of alcohol market contributes for about $51 billion. Spirit is the largest segment with $35 billion. The per person revenue generated is about $25. The alcohol retail shop plays still an important role from where people go and buy. India imports from Mauritius beverages and spirit, which is of a small amount of about $379,000. Now, this is what the Indian alcohol market is, which is consistently increasing in billion liters of consumption. It is 5 billion liters right now. India is a country of whiskey dominated, followed by brandy, rum, and then other spirits. And there's Indian-made foreign liquor market. This is very common in India. So out of this 35% of Indian-made foreign liquor, 56% is whiskey, brandy, and then rum. Other is beer, which is 31%. Wine market is developing in India, which is still just 1%. And then our local country liquor is about 33%. So that's how the whole market segmentation is. The top importers of wine, yeah, the duty structure. This is what Indian import from Mauritius stands. So consistently increasing. This is about the beer market. So revenue in beer market amounts of about $15 billion. 19% of volume consumed out of the home, which means people go outside and have their drink. Market expected to grow with 6.2% CAGR, yeah, and will reach to 6,000 million liters by 2025. Average consumption per person is expected to be about 3.7 liters. And this is how consistently the beer consumption is increasing in India. The largest suppliers to India are United States, followed by UK, Singapore, Belgium, France, Indonesia. And these are the topmost importers in India, who is importing it from various countries. Agri food industry. Agriculture is primary source for about 58% of Indian population, contributes for about 25% GDP, and employs 65% of the total population. Indian food and grocery market is 6th largest in the world, and agriculture industry is reached to about $800 billion. Projections to reach to $1,600 billion by 2027. That's the overview of Indian agri-food, which is about $800 billion, and we are doubling it. And if we go more in deeper, it is 46% farming, 19% agriculture equipments, fertilizers, pesticides, warehousing, cold chains, food processing. So that's how the whole market is getting divided. Speaking specifically on pineapple, because that's one of the key areas for Mauritius, Indian import from Mauritius, pineapples is from 39 countries, from Thailand, US, China, UAE, and Philippines. And these are some of the latest quantities which we had last year. And these are the top 10 import companies. So Dabur India, which is one of the homegrown but largest company, Dabur alone itself imported about 6,500 containers and shipments. And we wish to support all of you, whoever is interested, to have vendor registration with companies like Dabur, where there is a process of registering you and followed by all other companies who being largest exporters there. These are the import duty advantages also on pineapple, lychee. If you see 𝐂𝐿𝐾𝐀 Cosmetics, they alone are the largest importer with 310 shipments. And this is what is Mauritius exports of lychee to India. Yeah. So it is increasing. It is about $27,000. Yeah, and now it is expected to increase. Seafood industry in India, market is about $5 billion and expected to rise with a CAGR of 13%. Fresh seafood market is expected to be 477 metric kg. Average volume of per person seafood is about 0.2 kg. Fresh food revenue is consistently growing, and revenue in the fish segment amount of about $21 billion. This is the outlook of overall how it is increasing. This is about the production. And the market segmentation is about 55% fresh, 24% frozen, 15 canned, and then other. We are importing from Bangladesh, Myanmar, as well as Oman, Myanmar, China for frozen as well as red drum fish. Import duty, and then the top importers. So now, as I said, what are the key success factors, or what is the responsibility on our shoulders as a companies, organizations working it? So government did their part. It is now us who have to take it. So what are the steps which are necessary to become successful in India? So we have tried mentioning it in a much simpler manner. First, an important factor is knowing yourself. You being a company based here in Mauritius, you have to understand what are the strengths which make you strong or which will make you strong in India. Second is knowing the market which you are targeting, and we are there to support you. Understanding the market, speaking to potential customers, and coming to a correct value proposition which you can have. The third is preparing yourself, gearing up to serve this market. There are certain things which you need to do. And then the fourth is approaching customers, and then a systematic process of getting the first purchase order and increasing it and ramping it up. So these are the 4 steps. Now, in knowing yourself, it is first important to understand your specific product which you are dealing with, along with your unique selling so USPs of yours. Then what are the added values which you can have as your company and product? What is the ecosystem in your country which gives you advantage? What sort of infrastructure you are presently having, and is that infrastructure matching to the requirement of Indian products? What certifications you presently have, and which of your certifications are workable in India, or is there any recertification which you need to make as per the Indian government? The research and innovation, the R&D department of yours, because it is something which is very important, the R&D and reaching to the stage of innovation. What sort of people and resources you have, and are those people and resources compatible to deal with Indians? And then you have to have an finance or budget allocation for activities which you need to do, from travel to coming and meeting to doing a sales and marketing activities in India. The next point is knowing Indian market, so understanding Indian market size, choosing the right sector where you can create a value, understanding potential states and cities where there is a consistent demand, understanding needs of Indian clients, project how much business you want to make in phase-wise manner. So as I said, we should have a 3 years plan, how you are going to increase in step-by-step manner. Then observe the market trends. Because of the young population and so diverse country, the trends are fastly changing and you need to adapt. It should not be that by the time you reach India and the trend has been changed drastically. Yeah? So observe market trends very closely. Refer to past success stories, and we are happy to provide you success stories of other countries and companies who came and became successful in India. And see what your competitors are offering. Yeah? So wherever from India is importing, those countries and companies there are your direct competitors. So you need to observe them, that why and how they got success in India. Then preparing yourself, which is all to do with defining activities and budget. Planning the marketing and digital material, because it is all a tech-savvy buyers. Yeah? So you have to have brochures, content, website in place, product promotional videos, or there are a lot of regional languages. So if a material you can make in Hindi language could be helpful. Then study India's relevant events. We are a country full of events, exhibitions, online conferences. Yeah? So see what are relevant to you and where you can attend virtually or physically. Take help of Indian Embassy who is here. Of course, there is a Trade Council who will be happy to support you. Plan your India visit in advance. Let us know. We will be happy to tell you and organize some of the business meetings. Empower your team with Indian culture and business practices. Use smart ways of communication, having a VC, webinars, and then tie up with Indian associations and clusters. Even if you are based here in Mauritius, you still can be a member of top associations and chambers by paying a nominal fee which they have annually. But then you get their newsletters every month. You get to know their activities. You get to see what are the trade and bilateral trade happening with other countries. So it is good to get associated with them. And then the last thing is, but the most important thing is approaching to customers. So those who already serving to India, they should plan of expanding. Those who are not serving should target towards having a first initial small volume orders. So identify potential customers, take help from associations, meet Indian companies in trade fairs, like the largest trade fairs happening in Germany. You will see India Pavilion, one of the largest. So exhibition like Anuga or Automechanica, which is getting started. Yeah, InnoTrans, which is for railways. All of these exhibitions, there's dominant Indian participation. Participate in the event if budget allows you as a visitor or as an exhibitor, go there. Establish communication, conduct webinars, or we are going to have a series of webinars along with EDB, and you can be part of it. Use social media platforms for engagement. LinkedIn is very widely used and everyone is live and present. In fact, some of my meetings I've scheduled on LinkedIn before coming here. So it's an effective platform which you should utilize. Make a right marketing campaigns and then connect to potential buyers. Now, doing all of this, what are the ways of getting expansion in India? So these are the 4 ways, yeah, and you can have, it completely depends on your size and your target, but you may have a permutation combination of this. The first and easy thing is identify importers and start doing exports. Yeah, that's the most easy thing. But this even if this is a starting point of smaller batches, a necessary step. Those who are already doing business and want to expand, think of setting up a virtual office. We inside 𝐶𝐬𝐿 worldwide, we have offices in all the major cities, and we are happy to provide a 3 months complete free of charge office space to all of the Mauritian companies who will come to us via EDB. Use our offices, use our infrastructure, test the water, come and speak to potential customers. The second option is appoint sales agents, yeah, who could be your representatives in India and who can make you doing business with the potential customers. And then there are a lot of duty advantages if you import raw material, do reprocessing there, and then do a repackaging and export. So that is what is forming Indian subsidiary, which is for large scale companies who are already successful and who still want to expand multifold. Going more into detail of this, identify importers and start doing business. Yeah, so with the bill of ladings, you can track who are the potential customers and their consistent volume of import. Study their volume, allocate one of your resource and start communicating with them with the process which I already said, or tie up with the consulting firms like Crescendo or many others, take their help and penetrate. Exchange samples, maybe that it could be initially free samples. Prepare yourself to distribute some free samples if needed or if demanded. Have virtual meetings before having a physical meetings. Plan trip in advance to India to meet customers and partners. Yeah, start exporting into smaller batches, and then over a period of time, appoint a licensing agent or tie up with a freight forwarding agency who can make your life easy. Then second is setting up a virtual office. Yeah, so with a virtual office, you get an address, you get phone number, you get a mailbox. It's not a legal entity, but it is just an office address. And this enables you to apply for big tenders by Indian government. Yeah, it is mandatory to have a local address for some of the tenders. If you want to have an eligibility for tenders like Indian Railway, where there is a huge tenders for food supply, yeah, or there are many more. So having, we will be happy to circulate some of the tenders with you. Apply for these tenders with a virtual office address, yeah, and see if there are any chances of start exporting to government directly. Allocate a resource and of course, smaller batches initially. The third is appointing your own sales agent and representative, yeah, so identify them, partner with them. You may have a strategic alliance with them, yeah, for specific customer, for specific duration, and for specific project. Share your profits. These people could be exclusive and non-exclusive. Exclusive, which means in India, you will only have one distributor or one representative, and all of the inquiries will be routed through that same person. But if someone is demanding you exclusivity, it has to be committed with a consistent business or a confirmed business, which you will get in a year's time. Or you may have a non-exclusive partnerships. And then you may use the partners ecosystem. So a lot of these partners are already in Indian market for last 20, 50 years. Yeah, so they know all to do. There are processes and practices which will be probably different than what is in Mauritius. So the whole ecosystem of partner will give you an early success. And then the last one is establishing your own legal entity, which could be in the form of sales office or a warehouse or a processing unit. There are a lot of companies who are also doing a repackaging unit. So you ship in the bulk consignment and then you repack it with a smaller packages with the Indian certification. Good chances to have joint ventures. This trend is really increasing, where there are a lot of Indian companies who are eager to find joint venture partners. And as I said, there are smaller companies which you may think of acquiring them, yeah, acquisition. And all of these ways takes you to the Indian market. And all of them have certain Make in India initiatives. Make in India is an initiative by Prime Minister Modi, launched in 2016. And Mauritius is already one of the largest foreign direct investment partners. So I'm sure there are certain incentive programs already available for Mauritian companies, and you will be eligible with all of them. Followed by this, you should have your tax number and bank account, and then you can officially start invoicing from India. India is also a re-exporting hub. I'm just following some of the European companies' trend. So those companies are not just opening subsidiary in India for Indian market consumption, but they are also targeting to have re-exporting opportunities to countries like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, even to Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam. Yeah. Platforms to reach potential customers. Yeah. So of course, there are chambers and associations. We have tried mentioning some of the relevant chambers for textile, for medical devices, for seafood and food and beverages, and some trade fairs, yeah, which I said. So these are some of the exhibitions where you may think of participating as a visitor or as an exhibitor. These are the associations where you may have your annual membership, And from them you get to reach to your potential customers, because all your potential customers are member of these associations in any way. And every association have generally one mega event in a year where you get peer-to-peer networking sessions. Speaking about government agencies, as I said, Invest India is the central umbrella for facilitating investment. But then there are also state-level agencies, and there are separate state-level incentive programs. So incentives are from the central as well as state level. So Invest Punjab, Resurgent Rajasthan, Magnetic Maharashtra, Vibrant Gujarat. So depending on the state and city which you are targeting, you can be in touch with them. There's a whole website with a help desk already available. These are some of the websites for Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Defense, for food processing. Here you may get details of the tenders as well as what certifications you need to have, and there are agencies who can make you certified getting eligible to government. Some other websites. And the last part of mine, speaking about us as Crescendo Worldwide, we are one of the leading consulting company in India, with presence in more than 4 countries, Europe, Middle East, Asia, and then US. Till date, we did $65 billion of investment facilitation and about $35 billion of trade facilitation. And these are the sectors we have identified where we are aggressively working with. And for every sector, we have a dedicated desk and expert. So we have a team of around 150 people in India, which brings about 500 plus years of collective experience. And we are working with more than 80 countries and with their Ministry of Trade and Economy. So we are just trying to replicate what we did with others for past 11 years. And we know what exactly needs to be done, what is the role of government, what are the responsibilities of companies, and how we can have a right bridge to make all of this. So we are officially working with Economic Development Board of Mauritius. We are partner for them, and we are launching a lot of hand-holding programs together with them, which you all should contribute and get benefited out of it. And these are different services from vendor registration to sourcing. We already work with. So this is which we have proposed, and we are going to have an activities in and around of this. So we are proposing to have a 3-year strategy. 500 importers we have already identified, as I said before, for different product commodities. And we wish to reach and increase this to 3,000 importers who have right requirements, who are matching to your products. And we will be the one who will organize and B2B meetings between you and them. With our assistance, of course, Government of India will also play important role. We wish to have monthly sector-specific webinars where Indian buyer and Mauritian supplier can share knowledge with each other, share requirement with each other, and can have a buyer-seller relationship formed. So the calendar will soon be with you. Then we wish to have Mauritian company delegation to India, and all of these buyers, you will get a chance to see their facility. You will probably get a chance even to visit them and to have higher or next level of discussion, signing MOUs with them. Organizing Indian buyer delegation to Mauritius is also on our agenda. We just need to see now how we fit everything in a time frame which we are targeting to have. And we are continuously doing a lot of virtual exhibitions. We have our own platform. I got to know that ADB is also setting up an online B2B platform, where a buyer-seller meets can happen. Our role will be just engaging those Indian buyers and bringing that to that platform, so that most of your work we are trying to do virtually. With this, I intend to have my thanks and gratitude for patiently listening. I know that there are a lot of slides and bombardment since from the morning, but then this was necessary. I wanted it to be specific. I wanted it to be an eye-opening session. All the very best, and hope to see you soon in India. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Jadav. We had 2 wonderful presentations. so far. And before we break for lunch, I think we got 10 minutes of questions and answers, if you have any. We should be having roving mics as well, where you can ask questions. But I think we've been through a wonderful presentation, dissecting such a large country, an economy like India, one of the world's fastest growing large economies, reaching $6 trillion consumer spending by 2030. Certainly, there's a lot of good things that can happen. So, and I think Mr. Jadhav has given us a roadmap, but there's a lot of work to be done by all of us. It's not going to happen just by sitting and waiting for somebody to come and place an order with us. We have to do our R&D, we have to design our products to meet the requirements of the Indian market as well. So there's a lot of work to be done by all of us here. And my colleague Girish Bhaktavan who is in the audience, is going to have a panel session later on export of goods. And I'm sure he's going to share some of the ideas that ADB will be putting forward for future missions to reach out to the market in India. But through your collaboration, only this can happen, because we can only open the doors. Walking through the doors to do business is the private sector, not EDB, not government of Mauritius. So any questions, please raise your hand. We have roving mics across, and I'm sure that Mr. Jadhav and also Dr. Boudou will be happily answering the questions. Or we're all too hungry.
Mr. Jadhav, this question is for you. If we need to focus on few areas, I know you had a very extensive presentation, in terms of maybe 3 or 4 areas of export, what we should be focusing on?
May I know your products first?
No, I'm a former banker, I'm a business consultant. I don't have any product.
Okay. Because see, it is difficult to say that which products, because all of them have equal scope. We are importing from other countries, and it makes us a very natural partner like Mauritius to have an added advantage. And with CECPA, our life has become definitely easy. But then, as per my experience, medical device is one thing where India is highly dependent, 80% dependent on imports. And I see Mauritius companies and products are already there, successful in the market. So medical device is one thing which I would recommend you. Of course, trading is activity where you can do anything and everything. And if you being a consulting to some of your clients, whatever products they have, there's a good amount of scope. I said government tenders, if you have noticed. So for medical devices, Indian government have a lot of hospitals across country. We call it a civil hospital, which is free of charge. And there is a procurement process to have all of these devices for these hospitals. And with CECPA gives an advantage to you to apply to these tenders. Similarly, Indian Railway and Air India, which is now taken over by Tata Group, they have a lot of processed foods tenders happening. So you should look for what is niche for you, and from there try to find a starting point, and let us know. We are happy to support wherever it is needed.
Good.
Very good lecture, thank you. It's an eye-opener. I'm a doctor. I studied in India also. I'm a bit surprised by your telling that India needs so much of medical devices, medical equipments, because we bring all our things from India. Many of the things we import from India. It's a bit, I want to be reassured.
Yeah, so there are 2 aspects of it. One is our own production, and second is our own consumption. So it is not so that India is not exporting things related to medical. That is absolutely that it is there. But then what are the high value equipments, like scanners, which we import from Siemens. So all of this high value equipments, we are highly dependent on import. At the same time, there are consumables in it. So you're a doctor, you know better than me. But then all of these consumables, When there is foreign specialty hospitals who are available in India, they tend to use their own country products. If it is a German equipment, they will always ask you to buy German consumables on that equipment. Yeah, so that is also one of the things where even if there is a thing available in India, the company forces us to buy. And second is the consumer perspective towards it. It is also perception. Perception is one thing which we cannot change. We have to bow down and see our strategy matching to that perception. The hip joint, yeah, I had recently my mother's operation. So there was an option of buying an Indian make hip joint, but then the general tendency is let's make it a United States brand. Let's buy from German brand. So all of that mindset and perception is also tend to have more and more import. Yeah, so as you rightly said, yes, there is export, but our own consumption and perception is so that the foreign companies have more scope than the Indian companies.
But for quality assurance, you think they will be ready to buy it from Mauritius? If you make these things?
No, I mean, there is an extensive program by Government of India to have development of medical devices and the whole industry ecosystem, but it will take time. Right now, you may see that perception of quality makes that difference, and that possibly may give an edge to Mauritian companies.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wish to add also manufacturing of medical devices, especially catheters and syringes made in Mauritius, is made to global standards, sold in France as well from Mauritius, exported to France, India, and one of the major fastest increasing export from Mauritius to India has been catheters and syringes. Now we have several. There are several.
I think there is someone.
Yes, thank you, Stefan. Based in Mauritius, we're involved in verification of conformity to standards. And the quality assurance question just raised my curiosity. Can you shed the light, because we're talking about bilateral trade and multilateral trade, can you shed a bit of more light, just in 2 words, on what the mechanisms are to ensure that exports from Mauritius meet Indian standards? Is there such a thing as pre-import verification of conformity, I would think? Because that begs the question in turn of how we can put something in place for imports from India into Mauritius.
Yeah, I mean, EDB gave me a subject of export from Mauritius to India. That's the reason more statistics were from the other side. But then that don't stop us. Of course, there is Indian export consistently increasing to Mauritius. We have seen that it is 715 million against 79 million. Yeah. So maybe that some slides were not there, but we have already covered it in the research report, the copy of which you will all soon get.
Yeah, you can also reach out to the EDB for any questions that you have, and we will gladly answer that, whether it's about standards in your specific sectors, and we can study that together and answer the questions. Dr. Boudou, yes? Can we have a mic for Dr. Boudou?
Yes. No, on this one, in one of the slides, I did show what technical barriers to trade. And I think I did mention as well that there is a platform now. In fact, we have got provisions in the CECPA itself, and then there's a platform. And what basically we do is for the standard setting bodies of both countries. In Mauritius, of course, is Mauritius Standard Bureau. And in India, you have got, of course, their counterpart. So for any product which we would like to export, for instance, or we would like to import, so that is the focal point in the two countries, they will just meet and try to compare equivalence of the standard. If they do meet, I mean they're equivalent, of course you can export. If not, of course, then they will have to sit down and work out the details on what would be lacking, and you have to close the gap. So what I'm trying to say is that the platform is there. You just let us know what is the product that you would like to import or you would like to export. And then, of course, the focal point, they are going to just meet, try to discuss, look at the, what we call the existing standard, and whether there is a possibility for us to have the equivalent. So we can conclude what called a mutual recognition agreement regarding that particular product. So I think that the platform is there, the process is there. So you just let us know exactly what product you're talking about and what are your intentions. So certainly I think that can be looked into. Thank you.
Thank you. One last question, because we'll break away for lunch afterwards.
Yeah, hi, I'm Kamal Hawabai from Financial Services. Dr. Boudou's presentation very briefly alluded to investment made by Indian companies into Africa. My question is, can you confirm that most of the Indian investments are made directly into Africa and only partly into Mauritius, and whether there is anything being done currently to try and change this trend, to encourage Indian companies to invest into Africa more via Mauritius?
Mr. Naren, I think you may answer this better than me, and then I follow it.
In fact, I'd ask somebody from the EDB to answer this question. Now, we know that, well, we talk about investment. India, we've got the gift city now, which could be a sort of competitive.
Yeah, I think it was mentioned earlier, over 50% of the investment into Africa is already structured through the Mauritius IFC from India. Her Excellency mentioned that in the speech earlier today.
Yeah. So basically in the CECPA, we do have, as I said, I mean, there is a whole chapter dealing with financial services. And of course on the General Economic Cooperation chapter as well. And there is basically the possibility for Mauritius and India to see how they can jointly collaborate to sort of to tap investment opportunities, the structures, I mean, what you call the structure there. But in terms of whether investment from India going directly to Africa, now that we have got the gift, it's quite possible. So this is what I'm saying. I mean, we have got, now they have got their own international financial center. And of course, they're providing a lot of incentives. And it is now, I think for us, I think that once we put in place the platform for the economic cooperation, and I think that the FSC in Mauritius, if I'm not mistaken, they have already engaged in the negotiations of a memorandum of understanding with the IFC, with the gift. I think they have made a proposal at least. In the light of what we have, what is provided for in the CECPA, so what I have at least advised the FSC to do is to revisit the MOU. Because now we need to do that, because we have got the CECPA. I think that we need to make sure that we have got provisions in the CECPA that would preserve the interest of Mauritius as a financial center, to start with, because we don't want, I mean, investment which is structured in Mauritius to end up in the gift. Because there is a provision on passporting which is possible. So I think that when you look at the MOU, maybe, and this is what we have to see, whether the Indian, let's say, companies that operate in the gift, okay, through the passporting, they can also come and operate in Mauritius, and how jointly, this is what I'm trying to say, we can therefore see what could be the opportunities and jointly avail of these opportunities on the African continent. But what I'm trying to say, and this is important for us, we have to realize that in India also now there is what we call an international financial center, and so we have to see what is the scope of collaboration and cooperation, and I think that it has to be done through the MOU, and the MOU will have to detail the kind of joint possibilities of investment possibilities which we could explore on the African continent.
Yeah,
but I would suggest, I don't know, maybe Vinay could also respond to that question.
Certainly, Dr. Boudou, but what you are saying earlier, Dr. Boudou presented a slide saying India, Mauritius, Africa. So it's about developing the synergy between India, Mauritius, and Africa, and turning Mauritius into a relevant point for structuring investment across the African continent for Indian investors. So that's part of the work that has to be done. But I think also you would recall that about a month ago, the Prime Minister of India, His Excellency Narendra Modi, mentioned that he wants GIFT City to become the #1 financial hub for Asia. And whether they get there or not, but they will get close to that for sure. And I think where we can position the Mauritius IFC is a complementary jurisdiction for them to structure investment into the African continent. And that is a strategy that we need to use going forward. Mauritius has to be that intermediary jurisdiction of must or choice for every single Indian investor when they're trying to structure anything across Africa. And that's the challenge that we have. It will not happen just like that. We have to work, we have to establish network, relationship. We have to show that we will add value to our Indian counterparts as well. So there's a lot of work to be done. There are missions that are going to be arranged for the financial services industry. I do believe there would be one in November this year. You should see that in the next couple of weeks on the website of EDB, missions that are being planned towards promoting financial service industry in India. So please do take note of that and do join that mission if you really want to establish a network and develop the Indian opportunities for Africa.
And I think setting up an Indian special economic zone, which we were talking in the morning, initiatives like this will be very well welcomed from Indian companies, because then the one-stop shop and the ecosystem will be available. And we did this 10 years back with Germany. I mean, the city where I am, a city called Pune, it is considered to be largest German hub of the whole India, located in Pune, where there are more than 700, 800 German companies successfully doing business. But 10 years back, it was that first step where Indian government said, we set up a German special economic zone. And similarly, Germany, 3 of the cities said that we will set up an Indian special zone there. And that one initiative resulted into huge investment and trade exchange. Yeah. So having that idea of having a special zone here and there can be a good bridge to attract investment.
Thank you. I would like to thank everybody. Please put your hands together for Dr. Boudou and Mr. Kadhav. Right, we'll break away for lunch. We'll be back here at 2:30, and we have an exciting Zoom intervention from India, which is potentially the counterpart of Dr. Boudou will explain from the India side the journey towards CECPA and the way ahead. So thank you for your attention, and see you in 45 minutes here.